Patch 25.22 is here this week, and we've got buffs to Aurelion Sol, Blitzcrank and Yone, nerfs to Akshan, LeBlanc and Talon, and changes to Volibear, and finally changes to Skarner as well. We've also got some buffs to Cashback, Guardian, Hail of Blades, Legend Bloodline, Nimbus Cloak, Triple Tonic, and the movement speed and tenacity shards. Plus some nerfs to Biscuits and Phase Rush. There's only a few months left and a couple of patches before season 2025 comes to a close, guys, with the last patch 25.24 on the 3rd of December. So before we get ready to reset and do it all again in January, let's take a look at how the tier list is shaping up this week. Starting with the top lane then, and here we have more buffs to Yone with his Q's base damage going up by 5 at each rank, which is his second buff in a row after receiving some more base AD last patch. We were going to move him back down from A to B after his buffs last patch didn't blow anyone's minds, but now with another buff, he's going to keep his place. Vladimir has been rising in both of the solo lanes recently, but more so in the top lane. And this patch with some buffs to Nimbus Cloak, we think he's only going to get more difficult to deal with. This means when he commits to you with his summoners, he's going to stick to you like glue. And the last time, however long ago it was, that Nimbus Cloak was meta, Vlad was an absolute nightmare. Malphite keeps his place in the S tier 2 after some solid stats across the board ever since his buffs. And yes, he is a little bit matchup dependent, but in the good ones, right now he's really hard to beat. He can stack armor or go full YOLO mode with full AP like the Malphite players on my teams do, but either way, that ultimate is just super effective. And it can turn any doomed game into a win of a team fight and can sway the game into your team's favour. So in the top lane S tier, we have quite a bit of choice here. Aatrox is still the most popular pick in the top lane in the game, and then we have Fiora, Garen, Aurelia, Jax, Malphite, Riven, Set, Shen, Sion, Urgot, and Vladimir. Yes, Sion is up in the S tier. Who'd have thought that this inting monstrosity would make it this high? Well, some people of course would, but now even more players are realizing just how effective this guy can be. Gwen also made a comeback last patch 2 after her buffs, so she's back up there in the A tier. Into the jungle next then, and the two main champions to talk about here which are receiving changes this week are Skarner and Volibear. So let's start with the Scorpion then, and it's safe to say that this sorry stinger has been forgotten about for far too long now, as he was way too strong before and then nerfed into a deep dark black hole where his pick rates and stats have been a bit embarrassing. This patch he's getting his AD growth increased, his Q's bonus AD ratio increased by 10%, and his E bonus AD ratio is now up from 0 to 120%. There's also some changes to his Q's cooldown and a slight nerf to his ultimate's cast time. Overall, it's pretty difficult to say how he's going to fare after these changes. Honestly, with that E-AD ratio 2 now, he might actually be really good, but we're going to bump him up from C to B and just keep an eye on him over the course of this week. Either way, it is a promising sign for you Skarner fans that he's back on the menu. Volibear has had a few nerfs recently, mainly to his AP attack speed builds, and now Riot are buffing his base AD, base armor, and Q's minimum movement speed. They're also changing his E's total damage cap to monsters too. We've got the big bear in the B tier in the top lane and in the A tier in the jungle, so let's see how these changes pan out. Talon has been a bit too scary in the jungle recently too, so Riot are nerfing his passive monster mod this patch. Especially in the hands of higher ranking players, Talon in the jungle can be a bit of a problem, as it's his map mobility that allows him to have the presence all over the place without too much trouble. We've moved Talon jungle down from S to A this patch, but don't expect him to disappear instantly just yet. So in the jungle S tier, we have Diana, Echo, Jarvan, Jax, Kindred, Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Sylas, and Viego. Sylas shoots up with a crazy play rate over the last few weeks, Diana survives her recent nerfs, and Jarvan makes a bounce back up there this patch too. One of you guys asked last time round why Echo is S tier in the jungle, and when you check out his stats, they are so much more impressive than you might think, and he's being played a lot more than usual. Moving into the mid lane next then, guys, and here we have buffs to Aurelion Sol and Yone and nerfs to Akshan and LeBlanc. Aurelion Sol is getting his base movement speed increased by 5 and his Q's burst damage increased by 5 at each rank too. Now Aurelion Sol is not necessarily the worst champion to play, it's just more about his matchups. And with so many mobile assassins being played, we find it tricky to bump him up from the B tier just yet. He's either getting outranged and bursted down by the likes of Syndra, or can't deal with assassins dashing all over the place. But in the right matchups, he will become that little bit stronger. LeBlanc has always been a weapon in the hands of high elo players, as she just excels at bursting and snowballing lanes and has some of the best skirmishing power from any pick in the middle of the map. With how she's been performing recently, Riot are nerfing her health growth and armor growth this patch to make her a bit squishier later on, but this isn't going to change what she does best when she gets going. Akshan's also being nerfed this patch with his base HP coming down and his Q's cooldown going up, which is understandable as he's just been winning too many lanes and too many games recently. He's another one of those smurfy picks that can completely destroy lobbies in just a few early kills, and his roaming power is so hard to play against, as once he gets a lead he can swing in and burst you down and swing back out again without breaking a sweat. This patch he'll be that little bit squishier though, so most likely a little bit easier to punish. So in the mid lane S tier, we've got Ahri, Anivia, Diana, Katarina, Qiyana, Sylas, Syndra, Vladimir, Yasuo, and Zoe. As we predicted last patch, Qiyana's nerfs didn't hurt her too much in the mid lane and mainly affected her in the jungle. Ahri and Sylas both move back up as their win rate is starting to rise up to match their crazy play rates, and Syndra might just be the best mid lane pick to play to end this season on a high. Into the bot lane then, and let's start off with the AD carries, and aside from all the changes to runes this patch, there's no champion specific buffs or nerfs here. So let's just have a look at a few of the strongest picks to play. Now it's pretty hard to argue with the fact that Ashe is shaping up to be one of the best AD carries in the game. Her stats across the board are just insane, and with so many S tier support picks being the perfect champions to play alongside her, she's just become a real force as we come to the end of season 2025. Soraka and Ashe is one of those lanes that doesn't sound too scary, but can be so hard to beat. Kai'Sa keeps her spot as the most versatile AD carry in the game and remains the most popular champion in the entire game with her ability to be blind picked without too many difficult matchups. She's super fun to play and has some interesting build flexibility too, so when you're playing more of her, you'll learn and understand all the ways you can change it up based on what you or your game needs. So in the S tier, we just have Ashe, Jinx, and Kai'Sa, and let's have a look at the A tier too with Aphelios, Caitlyn, Draven, Ezreal, Jhin, Kog'Maw, Lucian, MF, Sivir, Smolder, Tristana, Vayne, Yasuo, Yanara, and Ziggs. Yes, that is a lot of choice to play as we come to the end of the season, and overall the meta is in a pretty good spot here. So another patch, and again, not really many changes to any champions in the support role, as it seems Riot are pretty happy with how balancing has been here recently, with the only change being a buff to Blitzcrank's E, now having an improved cooldown at lower ranks of the ability. Blitz has been in a great spot for most of the season as a niche pick to play when you just want to focus on pick potential with those hooks. He's never really been top tier, but in the right games and when you're pulling those hooks off consistently, he's never been a bad option. Bard's buffs last patch have seen him keep his place in the S tier as expected and is only really statistically being topped by the likes of the best enchanters like Nami and Sona. Bard's ability to creatively make plays around the map just allow him to express his skill ceiling when being played by those who truly know how to utilize him. Overall though, there's just such a massive amount of choice to play in the support role right now, so you can't really go wrong with it. In the S tier, we have Bard, Janna, Melio, Nami, Sona, Soraka, and Thresh. Melio's stats have got even better recently despite him already being in the S tier for quite some time, and with the sheer amount of utility he provides, he's a fantastic addition to any comp. Renata Glask still stays in the B tier where she's been for so long now, so it does make you wonder if she's going to receive any buffs anytime soon. And that brings us to the end of our tier list video for patch 25.22 and all the changes coming this week. Don't forget to head to our tier list on our website to see it in full for yourselves, and we'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks for watching and take care.